Hello folks, the Celtic Nerd here bringing you another nerdy video. It is it is time folks. Um wow, I can't believe it's finally time. If you're looking at my saves right now folks, you will see that we are 151, we are almost 152 hours into this game, and it's only now have we finally reached this point. Now I do have someone watching the live chat via a different source, so if you hear me talking to anyone, it is due to that. I have no idea how long this stream's going to be. I just don't know how long it's going to be. And that is in part due to the fact that there's a lot to cover. There's a lot to cover. This whole stream is going to be added to the playlist of my Dragon Age the Veilguard playthrough. But it's not where we're going to be covering any quests. Instead, it's me giving my thoughts on the controversial character that is Taash. Since it was actually oh, sorry folks, the person in the chat is a little distracted. But since the character was first announced, there have been nothing but stuff said about the character. And upon the game's release, there were people quick to talk about two scenes in particular with this character, and the major things that I saw people talk about was all the character talks about was being trans. If that wasn't the subject, it was talking about how the character is a self-insert. Now, that being said, it's what inspired me to do my initial early review, because I felt like the game was being overly negatively attacked. So now I got to the point where I could recruit Taash, and we didn't recruit everyone initially, and then eventually I finished Dragon Age Inquisition, and then I was able to finally start this game good and proper. So let's just dive right into it. Now, is Taash a self-insert character? I don't know that for certain. I've seen articles where one of the devs mentions that the character uses a lot of their own journey in self-discovery, being non-binary, which, okay, that's not 100% a self-insert. I've seen self-insert characters before, and they end up being like Mary Sue's or Gary Sue's. That doesn't really seem to be the case, because those characters typically are good at everything. They're the main protagonist, and typically they don't really suffer the consequences of their actions. They tend to be very one-dimensional characters. They tend to be perfect. you don't get that with Taash. So I would argue Taash is a self insert, yes, but it's more of a situation where someone took real life and used that for inspiration for writing Taash. It's more real life inspired. So the big arguments about Taash was that, plus and then the other was all the character knows, and the only thing that is unique about the character is the fact that they're non-binary. That is fundamentally false. Now, some of this you have to actually finish Tash's storyline to really dive into this stuff. If you don't finish Tash's storyline, then yeah, they are gonna it will appear as completely one dimensional. So, oh yeah, I should say this, folks. This is going to have a lot of spoilers for Tash's story arc, as well as some of the story arcs with the other companions. Because when talking about Taash, I will be talking about Tash's relationship with the other members of the group. Because again, this all helps show that like the character is way more fleshed out than just simply, oh, I'm non-binary. So, Taash is first introduced when our group needs a dragon hunter. So, we get in contact with Harding reaches out and she gets in contact with the Lords of Fortune, I believe the faction's name is. Give me a sec, folks. I'll get the faction's name now. Yeah, Lords of Fortune. She reaches out to them. She contacts them. That's pretty much it. Like she gets in contact with them. They tell them they tell her that, hey, we do have what's it called? We do have a dragon hunter that helps us, secure, dragon hordes and such. So if you want, we can put you in contact with them if you're in such a need for a dragon hunter. And since we were desperate, we say yeah. So we head out to the Ravanian coast. And there we come across the Dragon Hunter Taash, and we help them initially take on some Antam, which are apparently the Antam, which was the military branch of the Qunari people's civilization, Parvalan, as it's referred to. But the Antam has since split off from the government. They're now their own, but since they don't know how to do anything other than be soldiers, they've pretty much became like bandits, soldiers for hire, or essentially they become very vulnerable to manipulation. Because again, Qunari, because the way the Qun is, people need a purpose. And they only respect strength. So when their leader started becoming influenced by the Illuvian, aka the Elven gods, they pretty much became servants to the Elven gods. So as such, they were capturing dragons so they can blight the dragons, all that type of stuff, so they can wreak havoc across the lands. Taash, now during our initial talks with Taash, we learned that they are pretty stubborn and they have a tendency to just give into their emotions. They are quite an emotional character, and upon seeing the dragon being imprisoned, after we fed it some food to sort of like make it sluggish so that we can, you know, so that the Lords of Fortune can do stuff. The Anton quickly, took advantage and captured the dragon. So, feeling partially responsible, Taash was like, "Oh no, 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 no!" They ran in, and they quickly were like, "Hey!" They tried to use the Kyun as a way of convincing these Antam to leave the dragon alone. They're like, "Hey, we took the dragon down. This is actually our prey. You should back off." The person was like, "No, you're just blah 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 blah." He started talking down to Taash, saying to Taash like what they should be, and Taash took that personally. So that's when Taash reveals initially they can breathe fire. So Taash breathes fire, and we start a fight, and we free the dragon and whatnot. And this is when the surviving Antam report back and inform their leader, who's been calling himself Dragon King, that hey, there's another Quinari that can breathe fire in this area, and he's like, "I can't have that. Nope, can't have that. It's a potential rival." So since that point, they've had an interest. We've also we then are introduced to Tash's mother. She reveals a tablet that she's been sort of working on for a while, and she's willing to let us borrow her daughter for the veilguard for our dragon hunting things, because we helped provide them with the tablet. I can't remember where the tablet came in to the whole story situation. So yeah. So basically, Taash joins our team. Taash doesn't get along with there's only really one person Taash doesn't really get along with, and that is Emmerich, the necromancer. And that is because Taash follows Ravanian culture, and they don't, and as such, the dead should be left alone, especially the spirits. It's a whole misunderstanding what the necromancers of Navarro actually do. Again, the necromancers of Navarro are misunderstood by the vast majority of Tatus. So it does make sense that Taash would have, misgivings about Emmerich. And again, like Emmerich being, so closed off, he is a bit oblivious to how the rest of the world views necromancers. And as such, he keeps saying the wrong thing to Taash and to other members of the group. So Emmerich is actually the center point of a lot of sort of like, not really conflict, but like misunderstandings and heated discussions within the party. It's pretty funny. But I'm not talking about. This is not a video about me talking about Emmerich. This is about me talking about Taash. So, upon returning, upon after doing that, we do eventually get Tash's first sort of quest. Now, over time, if you travel with Taash with other party members, certain things get discussed. But like before that, though, we do eventually.
Elgernon's an asshole. Talking in people's minds, promising them stuff. It's messed up. At least we saved the Dalish. That'll piss him off.
We do learn that Taash does sort of have someone that they back down to. Like, Taash is maybe stubborn, they may be very blunt, can come off as disrespectful, but the one person that they really shrink against is their mother. Like, Taash didn't initially want... Like, Taash... By the end of our introduction to Taash, Taash says they would have joined us, but it was actually never discussed with them. The first time they're hearing about us, them joining us, was from their mother being like, oh yeah, you can take them. That was it. Like, Taash wasn't given, like, a choice in the matter. It was all pre-discussed with the mother. So, yeah, like, Taash will back down because of their mother. It's like one of the few people that they will back down to. Later on, so that happens, but then again, as characters are talking to one another during missions, or, you know, as I'm walking around, I traveled with Taash for quite a bit, because I wanted to see, because Taash was my first tank, and back then I was using actual party dynamics. So Taash was my main tank at the moment, because I didn't recruit Davrin yet. So I kept Taash handy. So what then happened was I had Taash and Nev traveling as part of my party members for a while, because they sort of synergized a little bit. And then that's when Nev sort of mentioned, like, hey, the way you talk about yourself seems to indicate it's very reminiscent of people that I know within the Shadow Dragons, or people that I know in Docktown. You might want to talk to them. So that's when Taash goes to do that. Now, this happens off screen. I don't know why like, a lot of this type of stuff happens off screen. Like, the companions do... We do get moments in the game where whenever we come back to... whenever we come back to the lighthouse, our companions are scattered. They don't stay in their respective rooms, which is something I really am a big fan of. I really wish more games would do this. I would love it if more games would give us a hub, but have our companions move around the hub, as opposed to just staying in their rooms. It really is a cool feature that they're doing with this game. So, like, for example, Bellaria and Davrin. Now, Davrin is not far from his room, and neither is Bellaria. Her room is here, his room is here. But, so, things happen off screen, and they presume, like, oh yeah, if the companion's not with you, they might be off doing their own thing. So Taash at some point goes to Menrathis and speaks to people, and Taash then discovers, okay, I don't feel like a male or woman, so maybe I'm neither. And they discover, like, basically it's their discovery of being non-binary. Now, that is... Again, there's no real quest where it is the focus. There's one cutscene. There's maybe a couple of cutscenes when the character when they mention it to you, and then there's their dinner moment. But that's it. That is the only time, and again, there's a couple of moments when Taash and Nev may bring it up if you have them both in the party, but that is it. The only other time is when... the only other time I noticed it ever came up was with Lucanus, and that was only just recently. And it was more in relation to with, like... Taash was asking, like, Lucanus, hey, are you okay with the whole you killed your cousin, or sorry, no, you didn't kill your cousin, the whole your cousin situation. And they were basically they were both talking about how they both hate it when someone wants to talk about your feelings at the worst timing. Like, when you're trying not to think about your feelings, that's when someone is like, hey, how you doing and all that, like, and they're both bonding over that. But yeah, no, during one mission, sorry, during one like outing with Tash, Tash is more so dealing with their identity as not being non-binary, but as being a Ravanian Qunari, because they were raised with the Qun. Their mother taught them the language. The mother tried to teach them as much of the customs as she could, and but Tash was like, Tash is torn. Like, is she Qunari or is she Ravanian? Like, that's what Tash was dealing with at that moment, and your character can nudge her one way or the other. I personally nudged her towards Ravanian, but again, like everything about Tash's story arc in this game is all to do with identity, not just gender identity, but just identity in general. In this case, it was nationality identity, and it's then explained to us like that why their mother took them out of Parvalin. They were taken because if the government knew that Tash could breathe fire, then what would happen is Tash would be taken and forced to be a berserker. They would have conditioned and brainwashed Tash to always just be so angry and just be a killing machine. That's all. Like, they would become a weapon. That is all they would ever be, and that's what they would like. Again, like, we even see people who follow the Q and don't even have names. They're just identified by their profession. And the mother didn't want that for Tash, so that's why as soon as Tash was born, and as soon as the mother realized that they were a fire breather, they smuggled Tash out to Ravane. So next came the I don't know when this happened, but I can't remember. I think the awkward dinner happens after this incident. Because again, I have to address the two infamous scenes that people seem to really point to when wanting to talk shit about the character. The first, again, I can't remember the order of these cutscenes, folks, so bear with me. I think the dinner is the second scene. We have a scene with Isabella, and again, it's just Isabella, Tash, and Rook, just hanging out at the Lords of Fortune. They're just hanging out, sharing stories, and Isabella said, like, they misgender Tash, and they're like, crap. And then without any prompting, they start, doing subs or push-ups. I can't exactly remember which. And Tash is like, oh, come on, don't do this. And your character can ask, hey, what's going on? And Isabella explains that the Lords of Fortune have a tradition that when a Lords of Fortune member wrongs a fellow member, they don't just say sorry. There's a whole explanation of, like, when you apologize to someone, like saying, like, I'm sorry, like, you're person who you're saying sorry to might you're inadvertently putting pressure on them to accept your apology so that you can just move on, so that things can try and, like, you're not addressing the core issue that you wronged someone. And as such, the Lords of Fortune have a tradition that instead of saying sorry, you instead back it up with an action. Now, again, the action, I guess, can vary, but the point is you do something to show that you're sorry, as opposed to you're saying you're sorry. And Isabella was just like, you know what, I'm just going to do some quick exercise here. But again, Tash didn't want that. Tash wanted just to move on. Tash is not someone who wants to harp on certain things. So, like, they are a very blunt, straightforward person. They just want to, they would rather address the issue and just simply move on. And as such, like, Taash is like, hey, come on, this is a new thing. Like, I'm paraphrasing, but like, again, Taash did not want them to do anything. Taash was not bothered by being misgendered. Taash did not give two fucks. So, like, that's the thing. Like, the way Taash treats it, like, yeah, it's a big moment for Taash, and Taash greatly understands that, and, like, they're happy that they can be themselves, like, they feel a bit more comfortable now, but they don't try and press it down on other people. They're not telling people, like, oh yeah, you need to do this, you need to do that. That's not what the character does. The character just would rather tell the person, like, hey, like, they would only really tell people that matter to them, and then simply move on. That's all they want. So that then brings us to the infamous dinner scene. So what happens at the dinner scene? Oh boy. So Taash is nervous about coming out to their mother, and as such, they want Rook to attend. So Rook agrees, and Taash actually invites their mother to the lighthouse. Now, the mother is being hypercritical. The mother is pretty much a bitch. The mother is quite a bitch. They're overbearing. Now, again, everything through context of what she has done, when you learn about her history,
We sail.
and the context of what she's done to protect Taash, like, she's not so much as a bitch. She is set in her ways. Even though she wants to live outside of the Qun, the religion, she cannot fully part with
Do you
it.
not like the archery bracer?
I love it. Why are you asking?
You're not using it. I saw it inside your pack.
It's so special, I don't want it to get lost or dirty or scraped up.
It's supposed to be useful.
Aw, Tosh. I promise to use it.
Okay, good. You deserve to have new stuff.
I'll get to that. I will get to that. Sorry, folks. I'm excited because, like, I will get to that. But anyway, so Taash is nervous. And again, as I said, Taash is a straightforward person. Like, again, like, right there, like, hey. Like, they speak as just simple matter of facts. So once Taash sits down, again, like, as I said, their mother raised Taash outside of the Qun, but still instills, like, Qunari customs onto Taash. Now, Tash's new outfit, if we hold on, like, Tash's current outfit is very Ravain, but it's not always. So, okay, that's Ravain. Their relaxing outfit, I would say. Trying to see if there's any. There we go. So these, I never really noticed this about Qunari characters. I don't know if they were shown in Dragon Age 2 or Inquisition, but apparently these binds are part of the Qun. Like, I can't remember how Taash explained it, but it's part of the religion. But like, yeah, so Taash still always kept binding. She actually they have the binds even in when they're relaxing at home. They will have the binds on them. So Taash was still being very much raised with the culture of the Qun, which again is why Taash had such an identity issue between being Ravanian or Qunari. So again, their mother was a bit hypocritical, and again, so like again, it makes sense that Taash would have so many issues. But yeah, so Taash being super nervous. And again, I've been in conversations like this where a person is so nervous about the topic that they're going to talk about or the news that they have that they just blurt it out. That's what Taash does. They just blurt out, by the way, it's basically, to paraphrase, by the way, I'm non-binary, so how's the meal? That is basically what Taash is trying to do. Taash is just trying to state a fact, accomplish their goal, which is to come out to their mother, and then just simply move on. Now, their mother, always knew Taash was never comfortable in their skin. Their mother knew this. But instead of ever addressing it, she made comments about it in one of the cutscenes. So I imagine it's not entirely new. Or I imagine it's probably it was a frequent little teasing that her mother did. But Tash's mother is pretty much, and again, this is very Quinari. It's very Quinari thinking. Now, I was actually surprised by this because I had to do some research. The Quinari are not necessarily against people being trans. What they are against is people being non-binary. With the Quinari, you're either one or the other, and they even have a special word for someone who identifies as a different gender. I can't remember what it is, but they have a special word for it. But the one thing that their culture cannot accept, because their culture is very black and white. It's extremely black and white. The one thing that they could not accept, and again, the mother being set in their ways, could not accept being neither. The mother was like, no, you have to be one. If you're trying to tell me that you identify as male, then just say it. I will accept it. But Taash is like, no, I'm not. I'm neither. And then that's the whole thing. Now, your character can either sit back and be quiet, or you can sit with Taash, or you can try and. I think you can try and play mediator. I was after several of the cutscenes with Tash's mother. I was like, okay, you know what? Fuck you. I got very aggressive with Tash's mother, because again, after several cutscenes of Tash's mother, basically, I was just like, you know what? No. So, yeah, so they left on bad terms. Now, unfortunately, both Tash's and their mother does come back to and that is because the quote-unquote Dragon King, he wants to basically lure Taash into a trap and decides, oh, I'm going to use the mother. And because both Taash and the mother are both being quite stubborn, they don't send any communications. They haven't talked. Basically, they don't talk since the dinner.
Come on.
And this is what allows the Dragon King to successfully sort of capture the mother, So eventually we do show back there. We go on a few quests. Taash, we get a few cutscenes with Taash and some of the other party members. Particularly Emmerich, because I had them together a lot. And eventually you do have a whole cutscene where the character has to basically lay into both of them, play mediator, and be like, hey Emmerich, you need to help Taash understand what is that necromancers really do. And Taash, you need to have a bit more of an open mind about, you know, learning about the necromancy, and then also you can tell Emmerich about dragons. You know, like you try and engage both of them on their interests, and then since after that point they do get better, and again I'll talk about Emmerich and Tash's relationships at that point when I'm talking about the companions. Oh, I just lost connection there with my headphones. Don't know why. Let me reconnect that, folks. Give me one quick sec. There we go. I am back to being connected. I think it's my headphones being on low charge, maybe. Okay. So, it's a whole situation that, you know, the Dragon King's able to make use of, like. And they eventually send a letter saying, like, hey, that tablet that you were curious about, I managed to decipher it, but I need you to come meet me at the house. So Taash is like, oh, I haven't talked to you since dinner. Hey, Rook, would you mind coming with me? And again, your character agrees because, again, you're being supportive. So you head out to the house and you see blood. Taash, yeah, he goes like, at first Taash is a bit curious. She's like, huh, whose blood is that? And then they get a sniff. It turns out they realize, oh my god, it's Mom's blood, and they immediately are on like hunt and kill mode. Taash is ready to go on a rampage, which I was like, oh yes. And as such, we contact Isabella. We learn that Cutter, a member of the Lords of Fortune, betrayed Taash and the Lords of Fortune and helped kidnap Tash's mother. We go to the volcano base where the Dragon King is. We have this big confrontation with him. But Taash, given into their emotions, inadvertently triggers a trap, gets us imprisoned, and which then, in order to save Taash, the mother essentially
This doesn't look like
sacrifices herself in order to get Taash and Rook and the whoever you have free. Like, yeah, Taash is like obviously extremely upset because
Sorry, but we can't do that right now.
as you're climbing up the mountain to go
That
to the
door over by
base.
those vases. Was that here last time?
No?
Oh, then the necropolis realigned itself again, like always.
It's revealed that Taash does want to talk to their mother. They want to fix things. They want.
There's that wisp again.
They want to fix things. Like they want to be able to talk to their mother. Like again, it's a bit heartbreaking, and again, anyone who if you're an avid gamer or you watch, if you're a consumer of media, you can sort of see where it's coming from. I don't know how. Like I saw the mother's death coming from a mile away, but part of me.
Taash, are you alright? You're limping.
I'm not.
Okay, that was an exaggeration, but you're favoring your left.
Oh, right. Yeah. Bruised toe.
Ah,
It's fine. How did you even notice? What? Were you looking at my legs?
Taash, you're twice my height. From where I stand, you're all legs.
They come together eventually.
Sorry, I loved our banter. So yeah, basically, Taash is just heartbroken. Taash wanted to reconcile. Again, I don't know if it's super obvious that the mother was gonna die. But like the self-sacrifice, and again, if you know about the mother's backstory, and again, you do learn that Taash never really hated their mother. They just wished that their mother was able to accept them, and again, they were both of them were just being stubborn. And the mother even refers like before the mother self-sacrifices, she looks to Rook and is like, Taash, you protect them. So like the mother in her last acts doesn't refer to Taash as her daughter, doesn't refer to her to Taash, again, like I slip up, doesn't refer to Taash as, her or she. They just simply tell Rook, protect them, and then proceeds to self-sacrifice in order to break them free. And thus began the boss fight between the Dragon King and Taash and us. We kill the Dragon King. Taash is sobbing. The volcano, the whole base is coming down. Or at least the arena was. The whole thing was coming, lavic and caving in. Taash is refusing to leave their mother behind. They're like, maybe if I can you get her legs? Like, your character has to plead, like, come on, we have to go. And to eventually to get Taash to leave, like, it is sort of heartbreaking. It is a little heartbreaking. The voice actress did a good job, and the animators did a decent job. And like, yeah, it's just holy shit. So our final, we do get like a final cutscene post this, like a little quest where we go to speak to a seer who can translate the tablet that Taash's mother basically apparently had as her life's work. So, which is cool. So Taash, the spirit tells Taash, like, okay, breathe fire on the tablet. Taash does, and then the spirit begins. Sorry, folks. Oh. The spirit begins to explain what it is. Now, this seems to tie into Taash's identity as a vibrator. Now, they have a special term for it. It's like Aldari or something like that. But yeah, so basically, there's sort of a setup that the BioWare has done. Like, there's hints that there's a big bad. It's implied that there's a devouring storm, as it was described. Like, the Qunari were actually fleeing from someone. So, like, all the way.
I don't think we can do
far
that
away. There's just there's a evil force that may not be related to the Darkspawn. It may not be related to the Elven gods. There's a force that forced the Qunari to flee. Let's see if does the map show like where Parvalon is. No, but given that we've seen them in Ravane and Minrathis, like to the Winter Imperium, they must be in the northern areas, folks. Hold on, let's see. Let's see if I can get. I don't know. I don't want to spend time looking up a map. So they're fleeing south or west from something. And basically the fire breeders are meant to be the protectors.
Maybe later, but not right now.
So like that, so like, yeah. And now, this is when you can influence Taash to accept, like, embrace their Qunari heritage and maybe help to potentially to Qunari prepare. I don't know. I didn't tell them to do that. Or you can tell them, look, you're a Ravane. Choose for yourself, like what you are. Like, are you a Ravanian who happens to be Qunari, who can breathe fire, and you use that however you wish? Or are you Qunari? Again, I don't know exactly what has been said actually for the Qunari bit, so I'm not going to attempt to make an educated guess. But yeah, the point is, you can encourage them to forge their own path. Which is why I think their outfit has a lot of Ravanian. I'm curious if their outfit would change if I made them choose a different path. Again, this game is doing a great job of making me want to play it again. I actually want another playthrough. And I want to play, I don't know, maybe I want to play as a Qunari. Second time around, and I will play not as a mage, I'll play as something else. But I do want to play another playthrough, and that's the crazy thing. It's been a while since a Dragon Age game has made me want to do that. Like Dragon Age Inquisition, not so much. I am a bit curious, but not so much. Dragon Age 2, no. Dragon Age 2 is one that I definitely wouldn't play again. Dragon Age Origins, yes and no. I love the story of Dragon Age Origins, but the gameplay, oh my fucking god, I hate the gameplay of Dragon Age Origins, which is weird because I replayed that game so often growing up. You know, it's just the gameplay is just way too slow for me now. It's so repetitive. But anyway, I don't want to trash games. I'll give my final thoughts on my rankings of Dragon Age games when I finish Veilguard. But anyway, so yeah, I do want to replay. I do want to replay this so I can see how my different decisions can influence Taash's outcome. Like, will they more so embrace being Qunari? I'm pretty sure they're always going to end up being non-binary. I'm fairly certain about that. It's just, again, there was never a moment where you discourage it. The only things we seem to have influence over Taash is their national identity and their religious identity, and whether or not do they embrace the fact that supposedly there's a big evil out there that fire breeders are meant to fight. Who knows? I encouraged her to be Ravanian. I basically told Taash to completely reject being Qunari. Like, because again, ever since Dragon Age 1, Dragon Age 2, and Dragon Age Inquisition, I am very much anti-Qun. I do not like that religion. I am very hard fast against that religion. So whenever it came up for Taash, I discouraged it. So, yeah, that is pretty much Taash's story. Wow, it took me about 50 minutes to talk about Taash's story arc. Now, obviously, I am paraphrasing. Obviously, I'm summarizing. If you really want to experience it, if you really want to know the nitty-gritty details, You can check back my past videos. You can watch my playthrough. I would strongly encourage you to watch actual, like, full-on gameplay. Like, if you're gonna watch gameplay of dragging it, like, up, if you want to fully know Taash's story, I would recommend you either play the game yourself. That's my first recommendation. Play the game yourself. Or you watch a playthrough where they don't do any edits. Like, I don't do any editing. Like, my channel, like, I pride myself that I give raw footage of my Let's Plays. So you can judge for yourself if I'm being overly generous to Taash or not. If you can watch my playthrough and finish it and get to this point and still feel like Taash was, insufferable, then fine, very well, that is your opinion. But I feel like my main point is Taash was completely overblown. That's the main point of this video, is me giving evidence that the hatred for Taash was way overblown. Now, could she be your favorite character? I don't know. Maybe she is not your favorite, but maybe you hate her a little less, because of the context of everything. Who knows? So, let's now talk about her relationships. Now, this is something I've been really looking forward to. So, let's start with Bellaria. Taash's relationship with Bellaria is... how to describe it? It's a strange curiosity. So, Bellaria being someone who dungeon delves into ruins quite frequently, she knows about, all that type of stuff and traps and whatnot. So Taash being curious about a lot of, like, elven magic and whatnot, that tends to be what she asks Bellaria about. She's like, hey, what's the story about this type of trap or this type of trap? Or about these elven ruins? Like, why do they seem to always do this? Or why do they set these things up? Like, when do they set these things up? Like, the traps and whatnot. And then Bellaria is just like, oh, okay, well... She then explains to how magic goes haywire after centuries of, not being looked after or maintenance, or the enchantment being properly renewed or recharged. And then, like, often when when an artifact or, like, something like sprouts fire or lightning or ice, it's really just the device, the enchantment, malfunctioning, and it's just discharging random magic. Now, Taash was greatly disappointed by this. Taash found that quite unacceptable. Because, like, Taash thought, like, they were being tested. So, clearly, Taash's ego sort of got hurt by the fact that, oh, you mean I wasn't being tested, and in fact I could have just, like, it's just a random fact that this thing exploded and I didn't truly earn the treasure that I took like I thought I did. So yeah, Taash was a little hurt by that. Next, we'll talk about their relationship with Davron. Now, their relationship with Davron is sort of interesting. It's a relationship of mutual respect. See, Davron is an accomplished monster hunter. Taash is an accomplished dragon hunter. So, as such, they sort of, like, bond over this. And their talks were about archdemons and just various types of hunting. And at one point when it looked like they were being somewhat heated, what ended up happening was Taash was like, okay, I will respect your opinion more when we are hunting monsters, but when we're hunting dragons, like I'm the expert. You know, like they were sort of settling on like, okay, you're in charge when we're hunting monsters, you're in charge when you hunt dragons. It was that type of thing. Anything else? No, there's nothing like that.
You really don't want to fight Darkspawn?
It was all pretty much just I respect you as a warrior, and then like that type of stuff. Like they're both not really big talkers, so I feel like that plays into it. I would like to have more, which is what. Again, I even switched. They do talk about again archdemons and how Taash really dislikes the fact that the Anton were blighting dragons. Taash sort of has a trigger button when beings are being forced to be something that they're not.
Ready for a fight?
So, like, when the Anton were forcing the dragons to essentially be enlightened, Taash was like, oh my god, that is really bullshit. I'm pissed off at that. So, yeah, Taash is all about personal freedoms. And anyone that potentially infringes on that will quickly make an enemy of Taash. Taash has a love for Taash was greatly sympathetic about the Griffins and like how the Wardens in the past treated them. Other than that, that's about it. Like, I was hoping that maybe they would say something at the moment, but no, I guess not. Okay, we'll move on to the next companion. Emmerich. Okay, so Emmerich and Lucanus have like one of the most interesting. Oh my god! Actually, I need to switch party members. I need to bring Emmerich out. Because they have the most interesting dynamic, and it's one of two that actually correspond with cutscenes. Actually, okay, no, sorry. Davrin and Lucanus had a special cutscene, and so did Lucanus and Nev, Taash and Harding. Actually, so okay, yeah, some of them are actually have special cutscene moments. So, I've already talked about Taash and actually I already did. Yeah, I already talked about them. Damn. But yeah, no, Taash and Emmerich's relationship is quite antagonistic at the beginning. Again, Taash doesn't like the fact that they manipulate bodies, and Emmerich is trying to dissuade any misgivings Taash may have about necromancers, not realizing like he's making it worse. And it's just quite interesting to watch and listen to. Like every time it looked like they were going to have a moment of like, you know, bonding, Emmerich would say something that basically causes Taash to recoil. So an example of this was when they were bonding over jewelry. Actually, okay, no, the jewelry topic actually continued to go well, actually. So, sorry, never mind. Trying to oh, okay, here's a moment where Taash says something that's complimentary to Emmerich, but then Emmerich takes it a wee little tiny step too far. So it was back in. I was traveling with them in Rapids, and I believe I was using the jar room exploit. And Taash says to Emmerich, "Hey, you smell really nice today." Emmerich's like, "Oh, you can smell that?" And Taash is like, "Yeah, really good." And basically Emmerich explained like, "Oh,
I thought I detected a new spring in her step."
Huh. Good. We're together.
Ah, so that's why Harding's been humming your name to herself.
She has? That's good. If she wants to, it's fine.
Enjoy yourselves, Taash. Truly.
okay, so yeah. Emmerich basically explains that he helped out. It was a whole situation where he got goosed up for the sake of helping to embalm a friend of his. It's a pretty dark and gruesome subject, and yeah, like Taash is like, ew. Like, and it's just like, oh my god, like it's just really interesting because like Emmerich couldn't stop himself, and he couldn't just take the compliment. He had to explain why, and as such, Taash recoiled. There was a funny moment when I was exploring the Ravanian coast near a waterfall, and what happened was Taash asked about necromancy and whatnot, and Taash just randomly states, as a matter of fact, when they die, Rook gets their body. And my character's like, wait, what? Wait, what's going on? Like, it's just a funny moment that Taash is just like so entrusting to my character. They're like, yeah, if I die, I want Rook to get my body. That's all I can really say about their relation. Now again, there is a moment where they sort of their heads collide a bit too often, and there's a cutscene then in the lighthouse where you basically act as a mediator between them.
Mercenaries trying to move in now that the Dragon King's dead. Not on my beach.
It's a pretty interesting situation, and again, I do like the whole thing. Next, after Emmerich, we have Lucanus. So, how should I say this? I was completely shocked by this, by the way. I was not seeing this coming. When you have Taash and Lucanus together, Taash basically became a super fan. Like, apparently Taash growing up wanted to be an Antivan crow. So yeah, so Taash started talking about like how all these stories that they heard about the Antivan crows, like, you know, the capes, like the capes I was really shocked by, but again, given how like one of their like their Ravanian outfit turns out with the double sort of like wing styled capes, it does make sense. Like, it's just really crazy, like how much of a super fan Taash seems to be for Lucanus and the Antivian crows. That's pretty much the long and short of it. With Nev, their conversations like a lot of their dialogue is more or less just a focus on, like, okay, so if you have Nev in the party, the conversations will lean more so towards the fact that Taash is non-binary, because again, I don't know how, like, why they decide this, but Nev is sort of the group's mother hen or something like that, like the big sister. Like Nev seems to just look after everyone, and like talking to them, helping them through whatever it is that they need to help them get through, like emotionally. And yeah, so that's a lot of Nev's and Tash's talks. Now I haven't had them grouped up together in a while, so I don't know if their relationship evolves more than just Nev being a good supportive friend. Like I am quite curious. Oh, I forgot about Harding. So now, as you heard there, or if you can't hear, you read the subtitles. If you don't romance Taash or Harding, they will actually end up together. Now, unfortunately, I don't know how this occurred, folks. I honestly do not know how it occurred. I never had Harding and Taash together in a party. Or if I did, it was extremely brief. So I don't know how I avoided that. I guess Harding, I was never hurting to level up Harding's loyalty, I guess. But I guess if you don't romance either of them, they will eventually drift towards each other. And again, I do wish I had them partnered up a lot more, because it would have been fun seeing them maybe possibly being awkward with one another, and potentially Taash coming to you for tips, like, because again, that's what Lucanus did. Lucanus actually approaches you with help with Nev, who also end up as a couple. So yeah, I'm honestly disappointed I didn't get to witness that. I should have maybe experimented with various companions a bit more. Like, let's see, do their abilities even match? Let's see here. So Harding sets up. That detonates overwhelmed. Okay, so Harding sets up sundered and detonates overwhelmed. And I believe Taash sets up overwhelmed. Yeah. So, okay, so their abilities actually could have meshed. Actually, now that I look at it, that would have been a great combination, because I have an ability that detonates with Taash, and Harding would have an ability that synergizes with Taash. So yeah, that's on me for not realizing it. Actually, hold on, it says it in their party. Actually, yeah, I always forget that the game actually tells you what they sell and what they detonate. So let's see here. So yeah, they mesh with the overwhelmed, and then I mesh with Taash on the weakened. So yeah, they would have actually worked really well together. And again, it's just a shame that we never got to see their banter pre-coupling. Right now, they are a couple, and as such, any kind of banter they have is probably going to be them just flirting or being sort of lovey-dovey. So, for example, we had a bit of banter earlier where Harding was checking out Tash's legs, and Tash noticing like, hey, that bow strap that I made you, why aren't you using it? And then Harding being like, oh, I don't want it to get dirty or scratched. And then Tash being like, hey, use it. I'll make you a new one. You deserve to have new things. You know, and it's so adorable. It's so adorable, especially how Harding was oblivious. Like, Tash apparently showed up with the bow strap, and presented it to Harding, and Harding is so oblivious. And you can even have your character be like, "Come on, Harding, catch up." Like, it was such a funny moment. Oh my god, it was so adorable. But I'm glad. But again, I'm curious about what would happen if I did romance Tash? Would Harding end up with someone else? Davron seems to not end up with anyone though. Ooh. If I romanced Harding, could Davron end up with Tash? Ooh. Or like, see this. Or is it because I'm romancing Valeria? Was Davron potentially going to end up with Valeria? Oh my god! See, this is what I mean. Like, there's replayability just in discovering that. But okay, anyway. So, yeah, that's pretty much Tash's relationships with the different companions. Now, obviously, with your character, there's obviously a best friend situation or romance. And by the way, Emmerich's and Tash's relationship does evolve. It goes from antagonistic to sort of friends to Emmerich actually acting like a mentor. Now, see, that's another thing that Emmerich kept struggling with. He couldn't turn off. He was being like overly professory with Tash, but like once your character steps in, and then you will see that they will be hanging out in the lighthouse, and Emmerich is actually gently encouraging Tash about like, hey, you are knowledgeable, you are smart, you know this stuff, you are intelligent. So like Emmerich is sort of being like a mentor type. And then when Emmerich went through his Lichtum ritual, Tash was like, so you are more skeleton. Like she was like, oh, I expect you to be skeleton. And when Valeria was going through her story arc, Tash was being extremely sympathetic. Tash comforts. I forgot to mention this. Like, Tash was like very comforting to Valeria about the situation with Valeria's brother. Tash was like, hey, your brother is still in there. He may be doing something wrong, but he's potentially still in there, and you don't want to give up. And then Tash, like towards the end, when we were on our way to the funeral for Valeria's brother, Tash was like, hey, focus on the fact that your brother came through in the end. He was a good guy. So like Tash is just reinforcing to Valeria, like, hey, for all the things that you're like, even for the crappy things that your brother done, he was a good guy in the end. So I really, really like that. And Tash, and then after Emmerich, because in order for Emmerich to become a Lich, he has to give up Munford. He has to accept that even for undead beings, when a being dies, you don't try and bring them back. You have to be willing to let go. You have to, and because as a Lich, you have to lead by example. And as such, like, then afterwards, Tash is like, hey, sorry about Manfred. And then Emmerich is like, oh, I know, thank you, I know he unsettled you. And then Taash is like, he did, but he was nice. So, like, again, Taash is extending a gentle hand to Emmerich. So, yeah, folks, so there you go. Taash. So here we go, folks. Like, now, was the writing for Tash's storyline a little sloppy? Yes, it was a little sloppy. But when you travel with her, and when you pay attention to the type of personality that Taash has, her bluntness towards her non-binariness to their mother makes absolutely perfect sense. The whole, oh, by the way, I'm non-binary, makes sense when you pay attention to what type of person Taash is. Taash is not just a non-binary character. Maybe a writer did draw inspiration from their own journey of self-discovery and put it into Taash, but like, that's not all Taash is. Taash is a dragon hunter. Oh, Taash also is a big fan of cooking and food. That's another topic that Valeria and Taash actually often discuss, was cooking and outdoor survivalness. Like, so Taash is actually quite multifaceted. And yeah, like, were they stubborn? And did that cause them to butt heads with other characters? Yes. Tash's relationship with Emmerich sort of reminds me of Jack and Miranda from Mass Effect. Actually, not really, because Jack and Miranda never really get over that. So I would actually put it akin more so to Liara and Ashley. But instead of it being of a whole jealousy type stemming from that, it's, I would put them as akin more to that, as opposed to Jack and Ashley. So, yeah, like, it's just, the character is multifaceted, and I really hate the fact that the internet with two cutscenes. Like, with only just two cutscenes, people boiled the character down just as simply being non-binary. That is not the case, and it's doing the character injustice. Taash is possibly my favorite character, like my favorite companion. Actually, you know what? Yeah. Okay, let's see. Is Taash my favorite companion? Emmerich is my favorite companion, followed by Valeria and then Taash. So I am interested in maybe playing a character that will romance her. Romance them. I was actually strongly tempted, but the thing is, though, the reason... Actually, you know what? No, Taash is my second favorite, actually. You know what? Now that I really think about it, Taash is my second favorite, and the only reason why I did not romance them is because I was worried people were going to say, oh, you only romance them for shock value, or you only romance them to stick it to people that you don't agree with. So yeah, I'm actually now really regretting that I did not romance Taash. No, don't get me wrong, I am glad that the game has it so that your companions who are getting closer to one another possibly can form romances. Like Nev and Lucanus end up as a couple, Taash and Harding end up as a couple. So like, I am glad for that. It makes the characters more dynamic. I actually really liked it in Mass Effect 2, where Tali and Garrus end up as a couple. I don't know if they fully end up as a couple. I can't remember if they continue their relationship towards the end of Mass Effect 3. I do know they end up having a thing for a bit during Mass Effect 2 if you don't romance either of them. That's something I'm going to have to pay attention to when I get to Mass Effect 3, my Let's Play series of that. But yeah, so Taash is my second favourite companion. The first goes to Emmerich. I really enjoyed Emmerich. I enjoyed his relationship with Manfred. I enjoyed his views on, like, you know, necromancy and all that. It was quite interesting. I enjoyed his personal quest line. So yeah, Emmerich is my favorite companion, but Taash is my second favorite. And if it wasn't for my concerns of how it was going to be viewed, I probably would have romanced him. So yeah, folks. Again, I'm not here to try and say Taash is perfect. That's another thing. No character is perfect. Characters are meant to be flawed. And so is Tash's writing, like, perfect? No, it is not. But did Taash deserve the visceral hatred that they seem to have been given on, like, now again, like, do they deserve the visceral hatred that they got over the internet in terms of, like, you know, in terms of, like, characters, and did it deserve to shut, you know, and I'm not going to talk about that, but yeah, no, did Taash deserve the hatred? Like, and the sort of treatment that people were given. Now, keep in mind, this is a fictional character, folks. And yet, the sheer hatred I've seen on the internet for this character is, like, was just wow. There were people, apparently there's a chance for your companions to die. And people were like, oh, like, for just to own like BioWare, people were posting the cutscene where Taash dies, and I'm like, wait, so, like, hold on, you have such hatred for this character, you're willing to repost, like, after a year. By the way, this was actually a year after the game came out, folks. No, it's not even a year, actually. Hold on, no, when did the game come out? It's been several months, like, at least that. It's been quite a while, and yet you feel such hatred for this character that you need to brag about the character's death. Like, you have to brag about how much you enjoy seeing the character die. That says more about you as a person, I feel like. You know. No, actually, you know, that being said, Joffrey's death scene was very fun to watch. Now we watched him being an absolute fucking dictator and being a cruel person. So yeah, whereas Tash's hatred just seems to stem from them just simply existing. But anyway, as I said, I'm not trying to convince you that Taash is great or whatever. My only goal is for you to possibly look at Taash again and maybe think, like, okay, maybe I jumped on the bandwagon a little bit. Maybe I should just feel like that she's not my favorite character, but she is also, but they're also not, like, the absolute worst. You know what I mean? Like, they're not an abomination, you know? Like, because again, that's how people seem to treat the character. They treat the character as if the character is an abomination to storytelling. But they're really not. Now, there are other issues with this game, but that's not one of them. But yeah, no, that's it. Wow, I went on for about an hour and 30 minutes. Well, almost an hour and 30 minutes about Taash and how they are actually quite multifaceted in terms of their personality and their complexity. So yeah. Oh, fun fact. Sorry about her, Tash's relationship with Lucanus. Not only are they a Crow and Lucanus super fan, there is a very fun moment where Tash is absolutely struggling with a situation when Spite is taking Lucanus for a joyride, because Tash is absolutely like, I do not want to harm you. Like, what? Whoa, Spite, stop. Like, Tash is extremely hesitant to potentially risk hurting Lucanus, because again, Tash is part of the group, and they are a bit of a super fan for Lucanus and the Antivian Crows. But you know, it's interesting watching Tash, you know, have cooking conversations with Balara, having monster hunting conversations with Davrin, being a super fan with Lucanus, having been helped on their journey of self-discovery by Nev. You know, it's just really interesting. And again, Tash's story is not about them being non-binary. It is a simple story about discovery of one's nationality, one's religion, and one's place in the world. Yes, being non-binary was part of it, but it was not. Being non-binary is not the core focus of the character. That is it. Now, BioWare did not do themselves any favors. They were very quick to boast about the fact that Tash was non-binary. And so, obviously, if you have a company that is boasting about it, obviously people are going to think that's all the character is. But after now finishing Tash's entire story arc, hearing the multifaceted conversations with the different companions, except for Harding, I really wish I heard their banter with Harding before they ended up as a couple. I still have to finish the game, folks. We do have quests here on the map. Hold on. Let's see here. We have we have 3 quests in this local area. I'm not going to do them in this video, because again, this stream was meant to be me talking about the Taash character and how they're written, and you know, just my general thoughts on the character and the hatred the character had gotten over the internet ever since the game's announcement. Well, not the game's announcement, but since it was revealed the character was going to be non-binary. So yeah, we're going to do those. We have 3 quests here, 2 that need to be picked up, and 1 that we picked up from so early in the game, and we're now only getting a chance to finish. So my next video is going to be Warden's Grey's final repulse. We're going to finish that. Okay, we're going to finish that quest off. Finally, we're then going to move on to picking up these 2 side quests here. And then we'll finally move on to the story mission, which we must be near the end, folks. Like, we have to be absolutely near the end. We are 150 plus hours into the game. In terms of, like, quote-unquote loyalty missions, to use a Mass Effect term, we have pretty much finished everyone's loyalty mission. The only one that we didn't get yet is Nev's, apparently. We did her story arc, but apparently she doesn't get like the symbol for the veilguard, and she doesn't get like a cool legendary piece of armor. So it's quite interesting. I hope there's something more to Nev, because if there isn't, then I'm going to feel like a little bit robbed. But yeah, we'll tackle that when we get to doing more of the story. We have conversations with you know what? Yeah, let's end this with going to see Taash. I'm curious what Taash could be wanting to talk about. So let me turn up the game volume. There we go. And then we turn up my television volume, because I want to hear the dialogue as well. I'm curious about what this is going to be. Are they going to be looking for advice on Harding? Do they need talking about their mother, who just died?
Hey, you up for drinks? I'm taking Bellara to the Hilt for drinks with the Lords of Fortune. You should come. Isabella's paying.
Sounds fun. I'm in.
Oh, it's just them getting drinks. Okay. Okay, not gonna lie, when they mentioned drinks, I honestly hoped it would have been like a double date. I don't know why. I wish it was a double date. Bellara and my character, Harding and Isabella and Taash. So here we go. Okay, let's see here. I'm curious about this now.
So, Taash pries the enormous ruby out of the statue's eye socket. Except then it wakes up, and now it's real pissed that it's missing an eye.
Oh, my.
What kind of statue was this?
Big snake.
Not bad.
Not bad. It's a giant snake. What would have been better than that?
Dragon.
Maybe. I've seen dragons, though. Never a giant snake.
And now we've got a giant, angry, one-eyed snake statue trying to swallow Taash whole.
Wait, how does that work? Where would they go? Did it have a stomach?
Wait for it.
Best part is, while Taash is pounding that snake's nose, she's still holding the ruby in her other hand. Maker's panties, I was so proud.
Oh,
Ah, shit. They're still holding it, sorry.
What are you doing?
Pulling a barb.
Oh. Okay.
a barv.
Tradition in the Lords of Fortune from one
Did
of
I
our
not
old members,
get
Barb.
this already?
Good guy, but like most of us, his plans went sideways a lot. Bad blood among your crew's not good for morale, but there's not always time for big, drawn-out apologies. So when one of us screws up and we know we've screwed up, we do a quick 10 to put it right. Pulling a barv. Oh, there we go.
Okay, so we didn't actually get the cutscene. I thought we already had this cutscene done.
Any reason you can't just apologize?
Sometimes people say, oops, sorry, and hope that fixes it. But they just want to get the whole thing over with. Trust me, I know. But pulling a barv, you sweat a little. Makes you think about it a little more. Shows the other person you mean it.
What if they mean it when they say they're sorry, though?
And that's the other reason. Some people mess up and get all dramatic. They make it about them. Oh, you know, I didn't mean it right. I'd never do that on purpose. They feel so bad about it that it's on everyone else to smooth it over and make them feel better.
Oh, okay. Yes, some people might do that.
Pulling a barv puts it on the person who screwed up. They made the mess, they fix it, done.
I'm glad the Lords of Fortune have Taash back.
Oh, Taash isn't the first non-binary member of the Lords.
Really?
It was a little before your time, but Horlicks was one of ours.
Huh.
Bastard looked better than I did in a dress or pants. And out of them, too.
Isabella's apology work for you, Taash?
Yeah. Just... I didn't expect the Lords to care about the stuff. Me being non-binary.
Kirkwall taught me about family. If it matters to you, it matters to me. I mean, to the, Lords.
Oh. Thanks.
Anyway, where was I? So, there Taash is, thigh-deep in a snake's maw and still holding the giant ruby in one hand. I yelled that we'll get them out of there, and Taash just yells back, "Get up its ass! I'll meet you in the middle!"
Okay, the stomach I get, but Did it really have?
Hey, who ate the last breaded cheese wand?
Oh no, I'm sorry. I guess I thought, well, I don't know what.
It's fine.
No, no. They're your favorite.
Balara, I know you're sorry, but you did mess up.
I know.
And what do we do when we mess up?
Yes, you're right. I'm pulling a barv. 1, 2, 3.
Heart's in the right place. Form's a little sloppy, though.
Bend your knees.
So okay, so it's specifically push-ups, and I actually do sort of understand Isabel's reasoning for like why, you know, being like, you know, just simply saying I'm sorry is not like 100% as the
Hail, Dragon Queen! Your tears are well earned, but never forget that your mother died proud of you, and you avenged her with honor.
I'm not really a dragon queen.
Not yet.
Wait, was that Spirit encouraging Taash to be a dragon queen? Okay, so that was actually the other infamous scene. So okay, so that scene takes place.
Rescued some
after you
Dalish from
finished your
being
story.
Archdemon breakfast, didn't you? Wish I could have seen the look on Elganon's face.
Could have sworn I already had that.
What are you
cutscene.
in the mood for? Ugh, fine.
But I will say, I do like the fact that you can pressure Balara into doing the push-ups.
Free tactical sheath with any purchase, worth at least 50 gold.
Let's see here. It's a bit late for me to grab that. Yes, I should grab that. Oh my god, I had the memento to grab from here. That would have been useful when I was trying to level up my memento, the caretaker.
Hey, punch an on-tom for me.
I'm surprised we don't see more Antom actually in the area, considering that they have supposedly joined. Okay, so there we go. So we actually managed to get one of the infamous scenes actually to show up on screen. So yeah, there you go, folks. Like, so that's one of two major cutscenes where Taash being non-binary is the focus, and then that's it. Like it's not focus. It's not part of the main focus of the thing again. Their mother does use it as a sign of like basically telling Taash, "Hey, look, I love you still."
I thought I'd
even though
let
that, like,
go
I'm
of
proud you."
Syrian the first time. I didn't. Not really.
Like
This
that's
time.
about it.
I don't know.
Like
I
the whole
still don't know
final
if I will.
goodbye that Tash's
You never
mother
do.
does
Funny, the things that wake you up
is
years after you think they're gone.
pretty.
I'm at
it's
peace
not
with
the
it.
focus.
Real
So yeah,
peace this
so there's
time.
only two cutscenes.
So
where it's the
even if I
focus.
carry it with me,
And again, I do not think a character needs to be fucking character assassinated because of it.
You see the size of Elgernon's dragon?
Kind of hard to miss.
She's pretty big.
He, the archdemon Lucicon, is a he.
Male dragons don't have wings.
Elgernon used magic to make the archdemons bigger. Maybe he added wings, too.
Ugh. And he's screwed with her horns. What kind of asshole does that?
The kind we kill.
So yeah, again, this is an example of like what I mean. Like, you get to learn about the characters a bit more. You don't get to talk to them as much as in other BioWare games. So another way you can discover the character's personality is by listening to the inter-party banter. So you really do need, like, okay, so as again, this is why I can understand why people had an issue. Actually, yeah, I'm going to actually defend the people's issue with Taash. You know, I'm actually going to defend their issue. Because of the fact that the other aspects of Tash's personality is mostly discovered through their banter with other party members, it is very hard to miss. It's very easy to miss that Taash is more than just non-binary, especially when we get 2 whole cutscenes that do pull them being non-binary into focus. Because let's see, we had their initial introduction, where they're the focus. We had the meet up at the bay, where Taash explains that they are partially raised with the Qun, as well as being, you know, they grew up in Ravane. Then we have, I believe, the dinner scene. No, we don't. I'm trying to think of the scenes where Taash is the main focus, folks. Give me a sec. There's a dragon hunting quest with Taash. So I guess that'll be 3. Then there's... Did I mention it? Well, let me start over, folks. Sorry, folks, let me start over. There's Tash's initial introduction. There's the 2 infamous scenes. So I'm just going to count them straight away. I'm not going to count them in order. I'm not going to go in chronological order. Then there's the scene on the coast where Taash is talking about being, like, you know, grew up, a person who grew up in Ravane and then has their whole deal with being raised with the Qun. Then there's a cutscene in the lighthouse where Taash explains that they have all their straps, like they have the ropes on their arms because, you know, they were raised with the Qun. Then we have the cutscene with Emmerich about their whole issue with necromancy. Then we have the final confrontation. Then we have their initial scene of them coming home to their mother's home and realizing, oh shit, mom's been taken. Then we have their confrontation with the Dragon King. Sorry, yeah. I'm counting, by the way, I'm not counting, like, you know, little brief cutscenes. I'm counting, like, all the cutscenes as one. Oh, the cutscene with Harding. So there we go. Let's see, is there anything else? I don't know if that's it. Okay, you know, I'm gonna say that's it. So that's okay. So that's 9 cutscenes where Taash is, like, so that's 9 cutscenes or dialogue moments where Taash is the main focus. We're either talking to Taash or Taash is, you know, frontline and center of the story. And in 2 of those times, yeah, in 2 of those times, Tash's non-binary is them being non-binary is the focus, and in the 3rd time it comes up, it's more in passing. Like, again, it's a subtle cue about how their mother actually feels about them, and that like their mother actually does accept them. And again, it was just their bloody stubbornness that prevented them from actually, being able to talk about it. So yeah, that's about it. So it's strange, folks. Okay. So now I might be missing 1 or 2. So I'm gonna stick with the 9. So 2 out of 9. That's like what, 35%, maybe 40%, if I'm being extremely generous. It's okay. It's maybe not 40%. Maybe 35. It's somewhere between 25 and 35, I would say. Where her non-binary, where them being non-binary is their focus. Everything else, it's not the main focus. It's not the main focus. And then again, when you stack on top of all the extra dialogue that they have with all the other companions, either in the lighthouse or out traveling with Rook, the character is just grossly misrepresented on the internet. And at least now that this video is out there, and at least this stream is out there, trying to push back. I'm actually going to rename this video so that it might get a bit more traction. In our case, I'm the Celtic Nerd, signing out. One name, one sky.